what makes me really happy, Michael?
What?
The fact that you're such a big fan.
I am.
Like you're going to people's cars, you're taking pictures.
I love it. I just spoke with Jimmy Keeney. He raced here 2 years ago with another F150 with a mid-engine setup and 900 horsepower. And he just told me that, yeah, he wanted to race this year too. It would have been his 25th anniversary because he raced with, as a college, finishing college with an open wheeler for the first time. But he didn't manage because he had the tire deal broke apart. So he didn't manage to come here. And I took his number and maybe you can help him somehow, you know, to come back. So I love it.
I'm so glad you're here again. And if you guys keep building spaceships like this, it just makes me so happy. What the hell is this?
Yeah, that's the Supertruck. I mean, we've been here with Supervan last year. It was crazy, but Supertruck just takes it to another level again.
So this is not the same vehicle as a Supervan?
It's not the same vehicle.
It's a completely different vehicle.
It's a completely different vehicle. It does share some technology, especially around the powertrain system, but everything else has been developed from the ground up.
I mean, I kind of recognize a little bit in terms of shape, but it actually is completely different.
It is. So in the end, every single component part of the package, the chassis, the suspension, the bodywork, the aerodynamics has been developed specifically for the F150 Lightning base car.
This air dam or this, I don't even know, this diffuser.
It's a proper diffuser.
It is very large. There's no other way to put it. I can't believe how large this thing is.
So we've taken all the experience and knowledge from last year and just brought it to, again, another level, improved on every element. And of course, the aero is just, another huge step forward.
You know what's funny is when I'm talking into this, I hear echo. I'm not kidding.
It's true.
I hear my own voice like getting shot back at me.
Yeah, the volume is huge. I mean, the car is 6 meters long. It's really from the size, it's the footprint of an F150, so it's huge. So on one side is a bit of a disadvantage because of course it brings weight with it. But at the other hand, we, and especially together with Ford Performance Aero team in this case, use that size to just go completely wild on the aerodynamic elements. And that's why the volume is so big.
Crazy. So then what are we looking at here? It's the two motors here.
So on top you see the two inverters, which are 6-phase. So each inverter powers 6 phases of a motor, and then below the two motors mated to a transmission and a differential. It does have a transmission, but it's a single gear. So these elements, these units are developed by us, by Start. So the motors and inverters, and also transmission is a specific motorsport solution.
And the rear subframe, this whole section, is it similar to the van?
It is similar, so the corners are very similar, a little bit optimized for this vehicle, but it's basically quite similar, yes.
And then what about the wheel and tire setup? Is it bigger or?
It is optimized, so we worked hard with Pirelli to get a better tire sizing, compound, construction for this year. From the loads we've learned, we have huge loads on these cars. So here we're speaking about 6,000 pounds of total downforce.
Whoa.
So
this whole area is just so wild looking. I've just never seen a race car like this. And the fact that I could see, that's kind of the firewall, right, I guess?
Correct, yeah, the rear firewall,
right.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the uniqueness of taking a truck as a base vehicle.
There's scaffolding here.
Correct. It's to support the wing structure in the rear.
And then
so
you're
about
running...
60% of the downforce is made by the rear wing. In
terms of being difficult to construct, this has got to be so insane to build out.
Yeah, it's basically, in the end, Formula One production technology which is applied here for the aero elements.
It does look like a truck from the outside, to be honest.
And it's got the same size. So all the main dimensions as in open class required, or as open class requires, are like the F-150 truck.
Look at this cavity here.
Yep, that's all functional aerodynamics. Every single element you can see from the outside has a pure technical function. So you see that even, from the 10 meters of rolling from scrutineering, we picked up stones already from the tires. It's just...
Right. Well, because when you're moving at speed, they don't stick.
They don't stick, they just shoot everywhere in the bodywork.
It gets sandblasted.
We do have to protect it, yeah. Yeah, we're protecting the parts with stone chip protection and other
Look at this rear view mirror. Like, this is part of the aero package too.
It is. It's a winglet, so it guides airflow to the top of the car here, and it shifts the aerodynamic balance between front and rear as we want it, with or without the winglets.
It doesn't have headlights anymore. It has intakes, or what are those?
So here we have an option for intakes. So we have different setups also from the aerodynamics. So there is a version where we have a tunnel which guides air through and releases it above the wheel arch. Ford Pikes Pikes Peak, and in testing we found that this setup with the closed ducts is the best for this track, but there's more to come from that vehicle, so be prepared to see different setups as well.
The front splitter is just as crazy as the rear. I cannot believe how intricate it is. It does remind me of Formula One.
It is a proper front wing. It's more than a splitter meanwhile. So it's a really working front wing with 3 elements. It generates a huge amount of downforce as well.
Even though this is just like a wall here,
Yep.
it still works.
It does work. So we have the air duct is channeling air through here, those 2 openings, which pushes the air through the radiators. So we're cooling the battery system with the liquids cooling circuit, and we're also cooling, of course, the electric powertrain. And all this air is channeled here through, comes out through the louvers here, and also is a functional piece of the aerodynamics as well for downforce and drag reduction.
So then it's a misconception that these don't lose power as they climb. They can lose power because of heat and draw.
They could, let's say, yes. So if you don't get the cooling system right, so the thinner air does affect us in a similar way on cooling like petrol cars. So we do have to come up with a special cooling system and cooling setup to be able to keep the temperatures of the components low enough up to the top with the thinner air. Yes, it's a challenge.
So then what's in the front area here?
So yeah, on the front there is another part of the powertrain. So we have a split powertrain without any connection. On the front we have 1 motor with a transmission. On the rear we have 2 motors with a transmission. And also the whole cooling package is positioned and packaged in the front.
You know, it makes me so happy that Pikes Peak forces you guys to think outside of the box. You know, Pikes Peak is a good reason for you to build things like this. Otherwise, there would be no reason to build something this insane.
It's
right?
true, it's true. And it also is not just the reason, but it's an opportunity to build something crazy, right? I mean, you wouldn't go racing anywhere with a truck-based vehicle. But with the rules set at Pikes Peak and with the uniqueness of the mountain, it's something you can do and you can do successfully. So that's why it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you guys already proved it last time with a van-shaped vehicle. Now, with this off, it looks like an open wheel.
Yeah. Well, underneath it's built like that, and we can also take off the ducting to see a bit more from the powertrain as well.
Do you think this would be faster with it open like this?
No. So the aerodynamics is built to have it covered. So we needed also, one important thing is of course efficiency. So apart from downforce, a huge focus was to have a very efficient aerodynamic package to reduce drag, to make the best out of our electric energy.
This is incredible looking. I cannot believe the amount of detail that's gone into everything. And then you have like this Kevlar. I'm assuming probably it gets more wear.
Correct, yeah.
So you have to have Kevlar.
Exactly,
here.
we have those wheel arches. Even those have a aerodynamic function to guide the air from and through the wheel arch, but we have it with a layer of Kevlar to protect it against stone chips.
I got the same hat as you, is that okay?
You're the best, Derek.
Best friends!
You're the best, Derek. He's the best.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Derek the Flagger. All right, so then the front has 1 motor.
It has 1 motor. It's the same spec like on the rear.
So then why not 2 more motors in the front? Is it just too much?
Well, for Pikes Peak, you try always to find, and that's applicable to any car, the optimal power to weight ratio. And for Pikes Peak, it's better to run with 3 motors. But we have a 4-motor setup prepared for this car, so yeah, there is more coming.
So then the rear, both motors go into the same powertrain to distribute the power, or is it 1 motor per corner?
No, we have a shared input shaft, so the 2 motors are mechanically fixed and connected to each other, and they power a differential. And the same on the front. The distribution between front and rear, or basically the application of torque, because you don't really distribute, on the front and on the rear axle, that is done electronically by our VC.
There's no link.
There's no mechanical link, so we can entirely control the front and rear axle completely independently of each other.
Got it.
Which we are using, so it's basically still a kind of torque vectoring, but axle-based torque vectoring.
And then are you able to adjust the diff from the back and the front differently?
Yes, correct. So the differentials are basically conventional LSD motorsport differentials. So we have the usual setup possibilities with acceleration ramps and deceleration ramps, and also the friction faces and preload. So that works as in a conventional car.
This is so cool. So this is the big heat exchanger that's cooling pretty much everything.
We have a split cooling system. So that radiator you can see here is for the powertrain. That's a water glycol-based fluid. And in front of it, we have a radiator for the battery system, which is an oil-based cooling system. So that's a uniquely developed system by us. And it's very optimized for high power density. So very different to road car, basically. Very different to road car technology.
That's so interesting. Yep. So it's still running oil.
It's running an oil-based fluid. It's a very unique fluid blend, but it's oil-based, so it's non-conductive.
That, I mean, of course, you have to have that for it being, for it going through the motors.
That cools only the battery.
Oh, the battery.
So the motors are still cooled with water glycol.
Got it. Here, because that's okay. The batteries, it's probably not a good idea to put water in there.
Yeah, it depends how you cool. So let's say conventional cooling systems still cool with water, but in order to get the best efficiency out of the cooling system and to cool it as much as possible, it's, let's say, there is some tricks we're applying which is better to be done with oil.
Right. Yeah. That is so cool. So, there you go. Door's really high. Not much of a door, it's more of just a sliver of a window. I love that you still incorporated the element, the design element from the F-150.
It is absolutely exactly. It's the exact same shape.
Slope.
Yes.
So inside all business, it still does have a lot of room compared to a lot of other race cars.
It's huge inside.
It's it reminds me of the van because of the flat floor and how much room it has. So do you build this based on Romain driving it? Like you already know, okay, so Romain is going to be our driver.
So as the car is ready to do a lot of other challenges too, as you've seen with Supervan, it ran the record in Bathurst this year. It also ran other races and there's still more to come. Basically the interior is prepared for typically any typical driver. So we can cover different sizes. Of course, right now the setup is optimized for Romain for the race, but it can accept any driver. So definitely the steering wheel is quite a big step forward. So we've added a lot more function to it. You can see that there is many dial and rotary switches where the driver really uses them to exploit the huge opportunities we have with electronics controls in electric cars. So he's changing the regen, he's changing the steering maps, he's changing the powertrain and torque distribution front to rear, and that all dependent on the various sections on the mountain. So as you know, lower section, mid section, upper section, the characteristics are so different. So it also requires a different setup of the car. And thanks to the functions he has on the steering wheel, he can do this on the fly during driving. He changes all the different settings, even sometimes corner by corner.
So then you're thinking that this will be faster than the Supervan?
Well, we put a lot of work inside it to be faster than the Supervan. So far, it looks very good from the testing we've done. So we're quite optimistic that we should be quite a bit faster, yes.
You know, it's already crazy the way it is now, it being like a truck shape. It makes me wonder if Ford went to you and said, just build whatever you want, but put the Ford logo on it.
That is actually not true. So we do cooperate very closely with the Ford Performance Engineering team. So I would say it's really nearly going to 50-50 split of responsibilities. All the aero package has been done by Ford. We go very in depth already on the suspension system. So it's a very close partnership. We work with the German teams, with the UK teams, and especially also with the US-based team from Ford Performance.
So like, let's say they say, okay, we're gonna build a prototype, complete prototype, like a LMP1 thing or whatever. And then you have free reign. It could potentially be even way faster than this.
Well, I mean, if you just imagine that we are bound to the size of the vehicle and how much weight penalty that gives us, of course, if we would build a car for the limited class and independent of any road car base or restrictions from the shape and from the body, for sure we could go a lot faster than we are now.
This is so neat. Year after year, you guys always impress us. Look at that steering.
From F150?
So then,
nope.
I know on the Supervan there was a couple things that were like, I wouldn't say stock, but they were like Ford parts. Is there anything on here that is like from a street car? Or
So,
is this all?
meanwhile, this is really all bespoke. Everything here is bespoke.
Everything.
The steering rack actually is still, the steering rack is a Ford steering. So the steering system, you can say,
It is a Ford steering system.
the steering rack is a Ford steering rack, yes.
And that's electronic.
Yes, it's an electrically powered assist system. The E-Pass itself is a motorsport solution.
Really cool. Thank you so much for showing us this.
Anytime, Larry.
Thank you
Always.
for your time.
Thank you.
I just love what you guys are doing. It makes me so happy, and hopefully it inspires other manufacturers.
Well, Hyundai is here this year, so that's already great. They are running also electric cars, 4 of them, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, you guys started a trend, you know, so it needs to keep going. We need to get
we need
more manufacturers.
More manufacturers, more entrants.
Yeah, I would love to see
that. Would be great.
Yeah,
we also would like to see more competition.
Good luck.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks a lot.